Remind us. Bear down. And look, is he number 2 behind Ayton because talent-wise he should be number 2 behind Ayton? Or is he number 2 behind Ayton because there's still a little bit of nervousness about taking that guy like that number 1?
I think it's a question of ceiling with him because for Doncic, everybody believes in and around the NBA, the floor is high. Like, he's not going to bust. The question is, can he be a transcendental player? Is his athleticism going to hinder him from reaching the heights that an Ayton is capable of, even if he's produced more, even if he's more skilled than him?
Have you seen it shift? NBA fans be excited about him coming into the league?
Primarily because he's doing things in Europe that have never been done before. So he's got something like 22 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists per 36 minutes. That is unprecedented for a kid who's 19 years old. By Kevin Pelton's WARP projection, he is the most talented prospect ever in Europe or the United States.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, like, when the number that jumps...
It is the Phoenix Suns.
Yay!
Give it up for them.
Phoenix!
And the 2018 NBA draft lottery results as well. Phoenix Suns, the Sacramento Kings, and the Atlanta Hawks. So with that being said, someone who is considered to be, if not the number 1, at least a top 3 pick, is a guy named Luka Doncic. Now, Doncic is from Slovenia. He is now playing with Real Madrid. The Phoenix Suns went out of their way to go hire a guy named Igor Kokoskov, who is from
Slovenia.
That is correct. So already you're seeing this.
Bill Duffy today, and he's headed over to the Final Four to see Luka. And listen, he is really focused on this Real Madrid season and winning a championship. If you watch this young player play at all, you know he's all about winning, and he has really tried to keep the distraction of the NBA away from his team. But they're going to have unique leverage come draft time because he can go back to Real Madrid on $1 million plus a year deal if he didn't love the team that selected him. So know this, by the time the draft comes in June, the teams at the top end of the lottery, they're going to know where they stand with Doncic. They're going to know whether they're a preferred destination or not. He may love everybody up there, but if there's somewhere he would rather not go, he could go back to Europe for a year. Now, the team would keep his rights if they picked him, but nobody wants to select a player who's not ready to come over.
Is the leverage more pre-draft for Doncic or post-draft with going back to Europe if he chooses to do that?
Well, it's pre-draft because you want to use the leverage to get drafted by a team you'd like to go to. But they haven't had those conversations yet. He's been focused on that Real Madrid season. And as Duffy said, they'll start to talk about some of those things as they get closer to June. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out here between now and then. What is this number 1 overall pick going to be for your organization?
It is difficult, and I think people are jumping to conclusions as far as, there's only 1 or 2 guys maybe in the mix for us. They're more than that, Woj. They're a handful of guys. We met with Marvin Bagley this week here in Chicago, who, as you know, is a Phoenician. He's a local kid, like DeAndre Ayton. Luka Doncic is obviously playing right now in the EuroLeague Final Four. He has strong ties to our head coach and is one of the top young European players I've ever seen and I've ever scouted. And then there are guys like Mohamed Bamba and Michael Porter Jr. who have some unique high-level NBA skills and were considered some of the top high school players in their draft class. So we're going to spend as much time as possible with those group of players, and it's not limited to those 5 or so guys. But, we have a lead pack at the moment, but it's not an open and shut case for us.
Ryan, your mentor, Danny Ainge, who you came up with in pro basketball with the Celtics, had the number 1 pick last year, and I think legitimately identified Jason Tatum as his top player. He knew he could get him at 3. He moves down, gets another pick. Can you imagine a scenario where you may not be in line with the teams at 2 and 3, and you move back?
We're certainly open to that. We'll consider it. I think, obviously we'll have more information closer to the draft than we do today after we go through the workout process and the interview process and get the medical physicals. So we're open to that. I think if you look around the NBA as far as the veteran players, there are probably a few players we consider trading the pick for outright, just pick for player number 1. So it'll be a busy month for us. I've been in the league 15 or 16 years now and never been with a franchise that's had the number 1 pick. So it's a big responsibility, but especially in this draft with the talent at the top, one we look forward to, and it's going to be an exciting month in Phoenix.
Ryan, you also have the 16th pick in the draft that you acquired from Miami.
What's the philosophy when you get into the teams there as far as best available, or do you go more in need? I know there's a little bit of a hole at point guard, but if there's a point guard there that maybe is not the best available, does that change your mind, or you just take the best available player?
Yeah, I think a lot of what we do at 16, Bobby, will be predicated with what we do at number 1, and it wouldn't make sense to draft guys at the same position or similar positions, probably at 1 and 16. So if we go, with a big at 1, it's probably a perimeter player at 16, or vice versa. Another option I think we may have available, given the number of assets we've accumulated, given the additional first-round picks we have coming from Milwaukee and Miami, and the 31st pick, the first pick in the second round, we'll look at packaging to move up potentially as well. If there's a player, somewhere in the mid to late lottery, say, that we like, we've done that in the past. We did it a few years ago for Marquise Chris, and we're certainly open to those scenarios as well.